Aloha avocado. I always start my semesters out when I'm teaching by getting to know my students. The best thing that I can do is to get to know their name and connect it to their personality. So I want to get to know my students, and even if this is not the project you're doing, it's still some really cool stuff that you can learn. So the first thing that we do is we make portfolios, and that's basically like a really cool art folder. I close them up, they can store their stuff on the inside, but we want to customize them, we want to make them look super awesome. I always tell my students, why even bother making something if you don't like it? So I really want to focus on making sure that my students are making something cool. So what we're going to focus on today is the type of lettering. I think about graffiti a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to encourage any like illegal graffiti marking, but I love this style of it. So if you love that, if you want to be a little bit more creative in drawing out your name, this is the video for you. Okay. All right, my friends. Our first step is to sketch out some ideas. So what I suggest is if you have a problem with being creative, start with writing out your name in the normal way. So I have just kind of a scrap piece of paper here. You can use a notebook, that's what my students use. And you're just gonna plan out what you're going to do. So you're gonna figure out, hey, do I want to make it lowercase? Do I wanna make it uppercase? Do I wanna mix it? Figure out what kind of letters you wanna make. So I would start by just drawing out your name in the normal letters, maybe how you would on your homework or just how you would print your name. Just think about what that looks like. I would leave some space in between your letters. Again, this is just practice. This is not the final piece. You're just figuring out what kind of letters you want to make. One of the requirements for my portfolios is that we need to make sure that we can color it in. So we're gonna make them bubble letters, block letters, something that we can fill in, because eventually we're going to be adding in color. So we can do bubble letters. That's probably one of the most common ones, and it's pretty simple. So we have our name written out, and then you're gonna go over these lines with sort of these ovals. So you're gonna do the whole line, going from top to bottom, tracing over it with just a circle. So at this point, you have some extra lines that you don't really need, but we'll worry about those later. So eventually you will erase them. That's why we want to use some sort of pencil, okay? This is already kind of bubbly, so we can leave that. Maybe in the middle, we have a circle, a little oval. Same thing for the R. For you guys, you're gonna do whatever your name is, obviously. A lot of my students like to kind of freak out, like, oh, I messed up, gotta crinkle up my paper, throw it away, and start again. No, that's not really the case. We're gonna mess up a lot. That's why we normally draw lightly. Okay, so now we have these extra lines that looks kind of crazy. That's where you can come in with an eraser and start to erase those things. Now I have sort of an outline that I like. You can add in more things that makes it look more like a bubble. We've got these little like highlights. You can just add these kind of randomly. We could try another route. So maybe I'll try capital letters for this one. Again, you want to leave some space in between. It is sketchy, it's not perfect. Okay, so instead of doing ovals, we can do rectangles. So we are going around making these squared off. Some of the curved lines get a little complicated. So at this point you could erase. Okay, so then we have just kind of a simple outline. You can tell that I did not make it perfect, so some of my lines are kind of going a little bit diagonal. I like it like that. I think we can transition into graffiti a lot easier that way. We can start adding some of these extra lines here. So we're gonna go past where it would normally be. I like to be creative with this point. I just kind of like to add things, just wherever I feel like it. Okay, and then we can exaggerate our lines even more. Say maybe we want to take it from a straight edge to diagonal. Maybe we want to move this line down and bring it up. So we've changed it from this really simple kind of block letter to this really interesting kind of design. So you can just keep going. If you want to overlap the letters, you can start to overlap. Just really kind of make it exaggerated. How can you change it? Trying not to focus on making things so perfect. Eventually, as you get better, this will be a little bit more natural for you. You might not need to make these like normal outlines first. You can go just straight into creating these cool letters. As another way that you can do it, you can think about different styles. Just think about your personality. Like, what kind of personality do you have? What can kind of show your ideas? So maybe I'll try one more. Think about outlining. What can I do that's like super crazy? So just kind of have fun with it. Go different directions, different angles. I've done this a million times. I've done a million different versions of my name. So it's a little bit easier for me. I'm gonna tell you, when I first started getting started, I try to focus more on kind of copying letters that I could find. So I would look up different things on Google. I would try to figure out what kind of styles I liked, and I would just copy them. Okay, I would look up like alphabets, like graffiti alphabets, and I would just kind of copy them. As I kept practicing, as I kept going, I kind of figured out what looks cool, what kind of things that I like to do, and I just started applying it to what I was drawing. So it is a process. It's not like I was great at it right away. I've been doing this a million times. You're gonna get better each time that you do it, so that's why I ask you to practice. Okay, so there's 3 different versions, still my name. They're all completely different. Maybe they have some similarities, but they're all totally different styles. So think about 3 different ways that you can kind of make up your own style. Maybe you pick and choose a couple letters from each one and you combine them together. Maybe you have one that you like more than the others. You kind of decide what you want to do. Then we're going to move on to our next step. We're going to pick our favorite one and go ahead and put it on a portfolio.